this is David Wheatley, and welcome, as always, to David Wheatley's podcast. This is episode 10. Wow, can you believe it? We are in double digits. Okay, through 1 through 9, we've covered a lot. Just try and do this with one-word synopsis. Topography of LA, that's not even one word. Freeways, capitalism, pros and cons, defense theory, social psychology, music, harmonic overtone series, the movement up the overtone series to lead us to different styles of music through the ages, up through the Romantic period, into jazz and into microtones. We talked about harmonic dissonance and cognitive dissonance and how they are similar, and that people try to reduce their anxiety by reducing the distance between the two things they're thinking about, the way things are and the way things should be. Ideally, people can create their environment so it's more like the way they think it should be by controlling the environment. That also means that anybody who is in the environment also gets controlled. Some people don't like that, but others are willing to go along with it to make the other person happy, finally. Okay. A while back when I was teaching at USC, I ended up on a list of available musicologists and local lawyers who were advocating on behalf of their clients would call and ask for a musicologist. So I was asked to serve in this capacity a couple of times at least. And in one instance, the guy calls up and he says, we need your help with this. And he says, we're happy to pay you. And I said, are you paying me to agree with you? And he wisely said, no, we're just paying you for your time and for your opinion. I said, so what's the definition of opinion? He says it has 4 components. The first part is information. Second is assumptions. Third is training. And the fourth is bias. So wanting to appear quite smart, teaching at USC, I said, all right, that sounds fine. But then after I hung up, I started to think about it. I've been thinking about it ever since. And an opinion that has high value scores high in each of these 4 categories. So let's look at them briefly. One is information. Where did the information come from that is the basis for this opinion? A reliable source? Was it vetted? Was there a survey done? Was the survey tested? Was there an experiment done? Was that replicated by a peer group? Peer-reviewed would be the way to put that. And the second is the assumptions. What did the opinion bearer do about missing information? Were they able to extrapolate that in a linear fashion to fill in the gaps? And the third is the training. Has this person studied the way things are normally done? Did they study logic so that there are no leaps in the thinking? If this, then this. If this, then this. And the fourth one I find the most interesting, which is bias. It's a desire for a particular outcome, to either seek reward or to avoid punishment. And so now, when I'm listening to somebody give an opinion, I'm running it through this lens: information, assumptions, training, and bias. I think people are most skeptical of bias because just about everybody has a bias of some kind. We might ask the question, what does this person want? What is this person trying to get out of? Or what are they after? I think a lot of people go to that first when they're listening to an opinion. What are they up to? And what do they want from me? And in those instances, they often miss the first 3 items: information, assumptions, and bias. So something to think about to our dear listeners is to also assess my opinions using this particular model, as I will be using this as one of my methodologies to assess yours. So I'm up in Toronto a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, on Facebook, and I see that a friend of mine from high school was up in Southampton, Ontario, Canada. So I sent him a Facebook message, say, hey, let's get together, because I hadn't seen him in decades. He says, well, I'll be down in Toronto tomorrow. How about dinner? I said, great. So we get together for dinner. I said, what do you do? He says, I'm a physicist now. I said, okay, great. I thought he would probably be in the STEM field, knowing what he was into in high school. Hope it was high school. Might even have been elementary school, but I think it was high school. If I'd known I would be recalling all these facts and all this information, I would have kept better notes in my mind and written down. But nevertheless, it's not that material to what's coming next, which is, I said, well, what do you do? He says, I'm with a company that assesses new products for safety and other reasons. And I said, do you have a favorite theory? He says, no, but I use a lot of them. And when I put them all together in a composite, they give us a pretty good idea of the product and what it's likely to do and how to perform. And I would expect, is it safe? So as much as I like to, as you've seen, take one theory from a discipline and move it over to another, I decided to use his method of multi-theories and apply it to the way I assess situations and incoming information that we referred to many podcasts ago about how people are constantly sending me information and how I'm interpreting it. And so this definition of opinion would be one of many ways to assess the person's being, really, in a way. There would be other areas, too, that we will be exploring. I'll just hit some of the highlights, which are vast, even though they're one words. Spirituality, emotion, cognitive dissonance, social psychology, evolutionary psychology, and just how it basically makes me feel to be around this person. Do I trust them? Are they credible? Basically, can I believe what they're saying to be true? And if not, what is the probability that what they're saying is true? It doesn't necessarily have to be a number, but it's better when it's a number, which is why the scientific world has come so far and led civilization in many ways to the situation we have now, on into computers and measuring things in the scientific method of given required observation and conclusion. Okay, so that's something about opinion. I've also been thinking about hierarchies. And we also talked about this in terms of the 5 areas of social psychology. In the third one, about how groups are formed and how they manage themselves, or how they are managed. Which brings us very deftly and smoothly to Stanley Milgram, Milgram, a psychologist back in the 60s and 70s. And he was trying to determine how it was that many, what we might call normal people in Germany, did such terrible things, especially during the trials at the end or after the war was over. They were asked why they did such terrible things, and they said they were just following orders. A lot of them did. They were not able to escape their fate that way, but more than one said that. So Milgram became curious, on a very serious degree of being curious, as to how this could have happened and how it could happen in the future. So he created this experiment with 3 different individuals. The top person giving the orders is called the experimenter, and the second person is called the teacher, and the third one is the student. The experimenter and the teacher are in the same room, and the student is in another room that is soundproof, but the teacher and the student are able to communicate through the wall somehow, a microphone, speaker, that kind of thing. The hapless student is wearing these electrode things on his arms so that he can be shocked. But he's not really being shocked. He's just pretending to be shocked. But the teacher thinks that he is going to be shocked and is being shocked. The teacher has levers or levers to flip that gradually increase the voltage so the teacher can administer greater and greater punishments for wrong answers. And when the teacher complains that he shouldn't have to be doing this because the student is suffering and yelling, the experimenter says, these are the rules, you have to keep going. And in just about every case, the teacher did keep going. I think only one of 760 examples the person declined to proceed with the escalating voltages. This study was shocking to a lot of people. Shocking, interesting choice of word. It was shocking to many people. And there are those who criticize the study because Milgram's experiment was misleading the teacher and forcing them to go home thinking that they had done great damage to an individual and that the teacher would have to live with this for a long time. Nevertheless, aside from that major concern, it was quite astonishing to just about everybody who heard about it that 759 had proceeded with inflicting the pain and suffering on the student, even when their conscience had indicated to them that they should stop. This experiment is called obedience to authority. So with that, I'm not sure what our time is on this episode, but I would like to suggest that we stop right here. Who am I suggesting to? I'm suggesting to myself and to the two able and talented people in the studio with me that we adjourn here. Please consider becoming a philanthropist or expanding your already existing philanthropic tendencies or practice to include this project. And look in the description under Patreon and go ahead and make a donation. And also, you're welcome to send me an email if you like, davidwheatley10@gmail.com. And with that, this is the aforementioned David Wheatley signing off, and I'll look forward to talking with you or to you or at you during the next episode. Thank you for joining us.